Good evening, everybody. I don't have any props with me. Probably not as interesting, perhaps, and like kind of do-it-yourself at home type stuff. But before I get started, my name is Dave Cherry, and really excited to see that Klarna is sponsoring this, because Klarna has been a great sponsor since they got to town for a couple things that I'm doing as well around this big thing called C-Bus Retail, which I'll be happy to talk about at some time. But I'm an independent consultant here in town. I'll show you about me in a second. But today I wanted to tell you my talk tonight is about retail is dead, and everybody's heard of that. But it's actually not dead. Yes, it is. And I'm going to contradict myself. See, I can never be wrong if I continue to contradict myself, because that's what a good consultant does. But what I want to tell you about is kind of long live the customer experience industry, because I think in the write-up, Chase said, I'm going to talk to you about the only industry that matters, and I believe there's only one industry these days, and it's the customer experience industry, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But a little bit of quick piece about me. This is the non-fun side of me. The fun side of me is running and biking and all the cool stuff I do in my free time. This is my work side. These are all a bunch of the clients I've been to, where I went to college, all that good fun stuff. But I've been in and around Columbus for about 17 years as an independent consultant, working with all these guys. My goal is to just make my way around 270. I'll go outside of 270, but not that far. So that's kind of what I like to do. So, retail is dead. Has anybody seen all the articles and blogs, and every time you go onto Twitter or wherever, retail is dead? In fact, I was checking my email this morning, and is anybody familiar with Charming Charlie? Is any Charming Charlie shoppers out here? They just announced they're closing all their stores, going bankrupt, they're gone. So everybody remembers Wet Seal, Delia's, The Limited, Toys R Us. Like literally every single week we're hearing about another retailer that's dying and closing up shop. We hear about this term, the retail apocalypse, all right? So it's on us, right? Physical retail is dead, right? Well, it's actually not. So this one quote, and lots of people have said it, but I think Steve is the one who gets kind of the credit for it, is physical retail isn't dead, boring retail is dead. In fact, I was just talking to a couple guys before the talk tonight. Anybody in the room know about the retailer Brandy Melville? Right? You kind of have to be 14 years old and a girl like my daughter. But they are so excited about that store. There's something, and I have no idea what it is, that's hitting a connection, is really exciting. It's like when the Beatles came here. Like what the squeals of the 14 and 15-year-old girls, I'm telling you, they just opened their first store in Ohio at Easton a couple weeks ago. Go to that store. It's crazy. You'll be the only one that drove yourself there. So, but what they've done is they've hit some kind of chord. There's something exciting about it. I'm going to tell you where people are going and how they're kind of creating that connection. But when you create a connection with people, that's what keeps it alive. But if you're just a plain old boring, and I'll go back to Toys R Us, there was nothing interesting about it. Just aisle after aisle of stuff. Same stuff I could find on Amazon. So if you're boring and you don't have that reason for people to want to be excited about going, you are going to die. But, so retail is dead. So always been looking for a way to get a Grim Reaper into a presentation. This is the first time I've been able to do it. So not only is retail dead, I will also argue that these industries are dead. So anybody do work at, say, I'll pick some local folks, AEP, Huntington, Nationwide Insurance, Ohio Health. Those are just some of the companies I've been at. Every single one of these companies, every single one of these industries is in fact dead, because as consumers, we don't care about them anymore. Right? You might actually be a customer. I might be a customer in every one of these segments, right? So who uses AEP? Most of us, right? Anybody a Chase or a Huntington customer? A lot of us, right? Anybody stay at a hotel recently, right? We all stay at hotels, Marriott, Hilton, wherever. Anybody buy anything from Abbott or any other CPG company? Marzetti, Scott's, right? A couple local guys to name a few. Any Nationwide or Root Insurance customers in the room? You know, Grange, local company. Ohio Health, Mount Carmel, right? We all do all these things. And we don't differentiate between them. We're just customers of all of them. So what we are is, this is the only industry that matters. It's the customer experience industry. And I'll tell you what happens with us as consumers, where we blur these lines between these old industry segments. We expect everybody to be just as good as the last experience we've had, regardless of the segment, regardless of the size of their budget or their capability or how new or old they are. So just a couple of companies that are in this customer experience industry. I couldn't fit them all on the slide, so this is just a small subset. You probably have used many, if not most of these companies. But what happens is if you drive a Tesla or if you shop at Nordstrom and you have a phone from Verizon and you fly Southwest and drink a Coke and go to Disney World and all these things, you build up expectations for what customer service is all about, right? And it doesn't matter who the next person in line is, we just keep building up those expectations. And I met a woman who's a professor at the University of Pennsylvania, and this is one of my favorite slides that I found. I literally carry her book with me all the time now because I reference it so much. Her name is Barbara Kahn, and this is the Kahn Success Matrix for retail. So I think everybody will agree with me. We as consumers, we like two things. We like more pleasure and less pain, right? That's what we all strive for. So how do we get more pleasure? Well, we get more pleasure with the brand and the experience that we're getting. How do we reduce pain? Lower prices and frictionless. And what she's done here at the origin, right, we start at 0, 0, so think about each one of those arrows pointing out with the hash mark. That hash mark is the customer's expectation. So every one of those great experiences that we have in each one of those different people that you deal with, what it does to that hash mark is it constantly pushes it out. So when you go from Southwest to Coke to Disney to Verizon, and I'll use an example here in a second, that hash mark is constantly pushing out. So whereas me as a retailer or as an energy company or an insurance company or anybody in this customer experience industry, I've got to do a couple things. Number one, I've got to figure out why I exist. Like, what purpose do I actually serve? Am I there because I win on brand? Do I win on experience? Do I win on low price or frictionless? And then where do I actually plot myself against those expectations? And if I plot myself below, I've got to get better. So let me walk you through an example. I think we probably have a few Starbucks drinkers in the room. I'm one as well. So let's assume this is your day. You get to the airport, you walk over to Starbucks, and you order your coffee, and it's free pastry day. And the barista just says, hey, have a free pastry. You're like, wow, this is awesome. What a great way to start my day. Nice customer service, a smile, something unexpected. This is pretty cool. Okay? So we're happy, right? We got a green smiley face. Now, for anybody who used to live in Atlanta, this next piece is a real stretch, but work with me. I jump on a Delta flight, and Delta gives me a complimentary upgrade, and they give me a free drink, and they know me because I'm a frequent flyer, and I'm a million-mile guy, and all this stuff, and I'm feeling great because they know me, and they're giving me a great experience, so they're building on what Starbucks just did for me. So I love that. Then I get to my destination, and I grab a Lyft. Lyft is super easy. Guy comes up, I jump in the car, I get out, right? I don't have to do anything. I don't have to pull out a tip. So frictionless. That was just so easy. That Lyft was awesome. One of my favorite new places. Anybody stayed at a Moxie Hotel or familiar with this brand? Anybody? Really cool, fun new hotel. The whole downstairs, it just looks like your average bar. So you check in at the bar, and while you're waiting to check in, you got a free drink. So the first thing they do is they give you your drink. Then they ask you about your reservation, and you get your room key, and your room key also includes a couple poker chips, which are good for more drinks. There's all kinds of bar snacks everywhere. It's just a really fun, cool experience. So, again, this is my day. I'm still happy. My expectations, my experience for the whole day is awesome, and I'm building up on all these different interactions I've had. One of my other favorite new companies, and I don't work for them, but I'm a customer, is I just signed up with Root Insurance. Has anybody signed up with Root? I cut my insurance from like $1,200 a year down to like $650 with their driver on app. I loved it. So here I am, decreasing my pain. Let's just say I check my email and I've got my results from Root, and wow, I'm saving $600 a year on car insurance. So I'm feeling great. This next piece is actually a true story. I then get a CRM campaign. I get an email from Journeys. So I was working for Journeys a couple years ago, And when I'm working for a client, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to go shop the client. So I went out and I bought this pair of yellow Adidas, one of those kind of knit shoes. My daughter calls them sock shoes. So I bought them. I love them. They're kind of like a mustard yellow. She thinks they're really ugly, but I love these shoes. So I bought the shoes. 3 weeks later, and assume I'm in my Moxie hotel room, I get an email. And guess what it says? Adidas, Flyknit. Sorry, that's at Nike, but Adidas, mustard yellow. Here it is, 20% off. So I looked at that, and what did I think? You guys don't know me. That's terrible. I just bought this from you 2 weeks ago. By the way, I bought it online. So you've got my email address. And you just sent me an email for something that I already bought from you. So from a personalization standpoint, you just made me feel like I don't matter. So what happens to my smiley face? Not good, right? So my expectations for what I thought journeys should do were built by Starbucks and Delta and Lyft and Moxie and Root, not traditional retailers. But I had a bad experience with Journey, so everybody is impacting us. It's not just your traditional segment partners. So this should be pretty easy. If we know this, and we know that it's all about personalization, and we know that's what people want, well, as retailers, let's just give it to them, right? Let's personalize, let's treat them well, let's give them the unexpected, let's give them good service. But it's really, really hard. And I'll tell you, there's two things that make it hard. So I don't know if there's any Monty Python fans in the house, but I've kind of bastardized the Holy Grail logo. But single view of the customer is the Holy Grail of retail. So when I'm looking at D. Cherry at Yahoo, is that the same guy as Dave Cherry at Gmail? Is that the same guy as at Dave Cherry on Twitter? Is that the same, at, Superstar on Instagram or whatever my other social handles are? What about what my wife does? Have they connected that into their profile? So what most retailers don't have is this full single view history of saying, who is Dave? What are his demographics? And some of them have a little bit, right? So if I have a loyalty program, they might know my zip code. If I've bought online, they know my address. They know a few things, but they don't know everything. They should know my transaction history, but only if I bought online and only if I use my loyalty card. But what they also don't know is my behaviors. They don't know my future intentions. They don't know a lot of my likes and my dislikes. So how are they actually supposed to know me? And the biggest problem that they have is the internal systems that retailers are using. They were never designed to do this. They're all legacy systems that are segregated. You've got a CRM system that was designed to do outbound marketing. You've got an e-com system that was designed to take orders, a warehouse fulfillment center that was designed to ship orders, a call center system that was designed to do customer service. None of them actually connect together. So not only do I not know that this is all the same guy, when I call up, they can't find my order. So I've got this future aspiration. I want retailers to be able to identify me by whatever attribute I give them. So I've mentioned my daughter a few times. If she ever calls customer service and they say, what's your email address? She's going to look at them like, I don't use email, right? She's going to give them her Instagram handle, and they're not going to know a thing to do with it. But guess what? They've marketed to her on Instagram. She's engaged with them on Instagram. So why shouldn't they know her Instagram handle? Why can't she give that piece of data and be identified? So that's what makes it really, really hard. If I can't technically put the data together to know who you are, how do I give you the right experience? Here's the other thing that makes it hard. We are all changing all the time. So, right, David Bowie, like, God rest his soul, awesome, awesome guy, but I don't even think I have all the Bowie faces here. But let me paint a picture for you of a woman who's shopping at DSW, and keep that Kahn matrix in your mind. Friday afternoon, she's a professional working woman, and she's got 30 minutes at lunch, and she's driving over to DSW. She just wants a pair of shoes. She's looking for convenience, frictionless. She just has 20 minutes. I'm in and out quick, nobody gets hurt, all right? Same exact woman. Saturday afternoon, she's hanging out with the girlfriends over at Easton, having a glass of wine, had lunch at Brio. They're going in there, they're trying on shoes, they want to know about the designer and the leather and the celebrity that's wearing them and all that kind of stuff, right? Same exact woman, now she's in that upper right quadrant, she wants experience. Sunday, she's right back at DSW, and she's got the kids with her, and she's doing some back-to-school shopping. So she's looking for value and low price. So exact same woman on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, she's looking for 3 completely different things. And what does she expect? DSW knows that. They should treat me how I want to be treated every single day, even though I've just changed that. Every system DSW has will tell them that woman is the exact same person on those 3 consecutive days. She is 3 completely different people, and she wants 3 different things. So what happens is if you understand content and context, so if you're Brandy Melville or if you're DSW and you've got great product and great content and you're able to establish a connection through context of knowing what she wants, where she appreciates, you create that connection to your customer. You give yourself a reason to actually exist. And when you take that connection and sorry, I think I went the wrong way. Yeah, there you go. You take that connection, you add the customer, and then you get cash money. And that's what we're all after, right? So we've got that piece. So how do we get started? So I'm going to go back for a second to the Kahn matrix. So I mentioned earlier, so if you're a retail shop or if you're an insurance company or anybody in the customer experience industry, figure out why you exist. And Barbara would argue that it's not good enough anymore to be good at one of these. You actually have to exceed expectations in 2, and you have to meet expectations in the other 2. So if you think about somebody who's got great experience, great brand, and they're really difficult to work with and their prices are crazy, so they really miss the bar on the bottom 2, sorry, not shopping with you. You at least need to be in the game and meet expectations, but you got to exceed in the other ones. So once you know where you are, you've got to figure out how to measure yourself. So how do you plot yourself on here and be honest about where you are? The next thing is, how do I get better? Well, you get better by figuring out the actions that you need to take to create value to move you forward in one of those quadrants. So how do I figure that out? What I always do is talk to people and say, hey, what actions or decisions are we trying to make where we lack confidence? Why do we lack confidence? Well, we lack confidence because we wish we knew A, B, or C, whatever those things might be. Well, those things that you lack, those are insights. Well, if I say, I wish I knew what she liked, I wish I knew whether she was shopping with the girls, I wish I knew she was doing back-to-school shopping, whatever, how do I get that information? Sometimes I have that information in-house already. Sometimes I can purchase that information. Sometimes I might need to do some analytics, call some data scientists, whatever. But I go back and I have to get the information that's made up of core-level data elements. So now what I can do here, I can get out of this world of big data, and I can worry about smart data and turn data into information, into insights. But it's not data-driven, it's data-informed, because intuition still matters. My experience still matters, my risk posture still matters, and more importantly, my store associate still matters. So go back to that DSW example. The emotional intelligence of the store associate to look at that customer and say, hey, she's in a rush because it's 12:45 and she needs to get back to work, I need to treat her differently. Or she's Saturday afternoon with the girls, I've got to treat her differently. So we use this model to find where you hit the analytics to both measure and inform. And what that does is sort of lead you to the customer experience strategy. This is the only strategy that matters. And what we need to do is figure out what that experience needs to be, where we need to win, what innovations we need to create to enable that, to make it exciting, and what analytics we need to both measure and inform so we can move forward. So if we have a customer experience strategy enabled by innovation, informed and measured by analytics, now we're going to create that reason to exist, we're going to have that context, we're going to create that connection with the customer, and we're going to be thriving in the new customer experience industry. Thank you.